Welcome back for the break and welcome back to APAC playoffs, where we've already seen some intriguing results play out. One of them on stream, one of them off stream. Of course, Kira Esports taking down Cyclops. And guys, I think you have a special little stat for us all.
Well, it's not really a stat, it's more of a storyline, I guess. It's the first time that we've really seen South Asia take down APAC North, simple as that. Sure, there's been some contests over in the likes of 6 Invitational Open Quals, but in terms of a playoff bracket of this format in APAC, it is the first time. So South Asia coming out of the gate super, super strong. Incredible to see, surpassing basically everyone's expectations. South Asia came in expecting to be, the lowest ranked division, if you would, and an easy matchup for these teams to get through and progress deeper into the bracket, but they've already proven that is just not the case.
And Dev, on the other side, of course, the match we did see went the distance along with the Kira game, 8-7, Chiefs losing out to Fnatic. You boys on the desk were pretty Chiefs-sided, thinking they were going to get the job done. Even more so when they had double defense in overtime. They couldn't get the job done. Fnatic moved forward. Give us your thoughts again.
Yeah, well, pretty impressed by Fnatic, honestly. Despite it being a close game, Fnatic played really well. I think even Mag said in his interview, there were a couple of throne rounds there, a couple of advantages that Fnatic lost. In particular, Alfama with the Yokai drone, that one's going to go up on the unfortunate events Twitter page. But aside from that, Fnatic had 2 flawless rounds. I think actually 3 by the end of it, if you include the last one. So really, really impressed from them. Just the fact that they've been able to gel so well and take down the OCN champions in the opening game is pretty impressive.
Let's turn our attention forward now, though, of course, to our next matchup for the day, which is going to be on the stream. Guts Gaming versus 7th Heaven. Guys, another APAC North versus APAC South matchup. Yeah,
I love a bit of the cross-divisional rivalry. Guts heading into this one. Not positioned maybe as strong as some of the other teams in the previous matchup. They finished 3rd in APAC North in this stage, and they're still, I guess, trying to fight their demons and push to a higher echelon in that division. 7th Heaven, on the other hand, though, actually finishing a little bit lower, but on the flip side, probably surpassing our expectations to just be in this position. Coming off relegations last year, they came into this year, and we didn't expect them to make much of a splash, but they find themselves in the playoffs, and they're playing some decent Siege.
Yeah, it's fantastic so far seeing how these teams have developed, and yeah, this is of course the 3rd seed team from APAC North in Guts. These guys have had a pretty storied time over the last few years. They've played within Japan, they've been going up against some serious competition there, but coming into APAC North, they were kind of always stuck in that middle pack, 5th, 6th position. Last year, they could never break top 4, and obviously with APAC North kind of changing a bit, and some teams, including 2 of the teams that were always their rivals, Giants and the former Xavier roster, going to APAC South, it was these guys' chance to really step up, and that they did. 3rd place, they've broken away from a lot of the other teams and really solidified themselves in that position. You might recognize actually some familiar faces if you're a long-time Rainbow Six fan. Crazy Papillon and JJ have both played for Norengo in the past, that storied Japanese team of old that obviously went really deep back in the day and made a name for APAC. But these guys as a whole, I think they're just looking to take that next step and break into top 2, of which they are definitely capable.
Yeah, their opponents, of course, from APAC South. So to cut you off there, guys,
okay.
we'll go and have a look at their opponents. APAC, you can speak about 7th Heaven, because we didn't expect that they would actually be here in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been a breakout year is probably the best way to describe it for 7th Heaven. They, got their foot in the door of APAC South and they made their presence known. And when they play at their cleanest, they do pose a serious threat to even the best teams in APAC. I would argue that there tends to be a lack of consistency and cohesion at times, and it has been exploited through the regular season, and we saw that on occasion. But who knows? If they show up in the playoffs, I have no reason to doubt that they could put a serious contest to Guts, and I would argue that at their best at the moment, 7th Heaven might even have the edge.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of astounded by how far this roster has come. And while they did only end up in 4th place, just scraping into playoffs, they had nearly confirmed their spot with just such a strong and consistent performance across the board during the entire stage. I've been really impressed by these guys. They came in from relegations. They never even played Pro League back in the day in Southeast Asia, which is the sub-region that they're from. They just went straight into APAC North. They exceeded their expectations there. They fought back through relegations. Coming into APAC South, they've proven to be one of the strongest teams. And I think that the attitude and energy that we see from ED in his interviews is a great explanation for why this team has been so successful. I think that positivity and that level of determination, and also just like being happy to be there, I think that's something that really works in a Seventh Heaven's favor. And look, now that Cyclops has been knocked out of the gate, I'm actually thinking Seventh Heaven might be a shoo-in for that third place spot at the end of these playoffs.
Very well could be. I mean, they're a team that have already exceeded expectations by making it to the APAC playoffs. I think we can all agree here, in our initial power rankings for APAC South, we had them quite low. They've, of course, done a lot better than that, and they've proven us wrong. So we'll see whether or not they can run the upper bracket, or maybe they lose this and have to do it down below. Let's see where they head, though, in this matchup. Of course, the map vetoes, again, best of one. We only see one map this match, and it is going to be Consulate. I'll give you the floor for this one, Guz.
Yeah, so looking at these teams' history, both of them quite balanced on Consulate in terms of their win to loss percentage. Guts have, you could say, it's weird to phrase it as an advantage or a disadvantage. They've played it a lot more, and that's simply due to the fact that they participate in the Japan National League, whereas Seventh Heaven don't play in National League. So you could argue that's an advantage because they have more experience on that map, but on the flip side, if Seventh Heaven have done their homework, they can look through those VODs and come to some conclusions heading into this matchup, right? Because they versed the likes of Crest on that map, even Cyclops in APAC North. So there's a bit to go off there. It's difficult, again, to paint a picture on which team to favor, but they both have mixed results. I think that's probably the easiest way to sum it up.
Yeah, I would double down on that. With Seventh Heaven and their side of things, like this used to be their Instaban concert. They never played it way back last year. They finally brought it out a couple times here and stopped banning it in APAC South Stage 1. Ended up playing it twice, won once, lost once. And that win was actually their final game that qualified them for these playoffs. So there's very recent and good VODs to watch there for Guts trying to research their opponent. And in terms of the opposite, there are a couple of games to research, but mostly losses on Guts' behalf, which means that Seventh Heaven, while they might be able to look at the things that Guts did poorly, obviously Guts has been working on those. And so not necessarily their full hand has been exposed. I will just say, these teams, despite playing it both in APAC North last year, have only ever versed one time. And that was way back in September, and it was a 7-3 Guts victory on Cafe. So Guts currently retain that head-to-head.
Final thoughts, final predictions, or Guz, you usually pretty good at this.
Well, I didn't get the last one right because Chiefs choked an 8-6 victory, but I think heading into this one, I'm going to show a little bit of South bias, give Seventh Heaven just the edge. Again, expecting it to be close. I'll say 7-5 in regulation. We'll just pluck that number out.
I was going to do that too. I was going to just say that I'm being blatantly biased here. Look, APAC South lost their opening game, so I want to see them take it. But no, I'll go for Japan. Japan have already down in the dumps after CAG getting knocked down by Kira. I'm going to give something the Japanese fans to cheer for, so let's go Guts.
I'm going to back you up there as well for the Japanese team, Guts. I think they will prevail. I'm going to say 7-5 as well. Let's throw it over to your lovely casters, though it is Raven and Manic.
So it's a 7-5 result all round, apparently, Raven. Yeah, apparently so. It just depends on what team is going to take it. Definitely coming into this one, though, it is a close match. I think it kind of does mirror the Fnatic Chiefs game that we just saw then. There is that chance for it to be close, but as Dev mentioned, it was a 7-3 victory last time these two teams played out.
Yeah, and look, I feel like that was quite a while ago, and really in APAC South regular season, we have seen a dramatic development of Seventh Heaven. They have seriously, week to week, visibly improved. So I feel confident that they could probably take this game against Guts, but I echo the sentiment. It's probably going to be close.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how close it will be, in fact, Raven. It's on Consulate, and I'm sure there's going to be some spicy plays sprinkled throughout what could be a full 12-round map. But we're going to get underway with the ban phase now. Of course, only a best of one. We don't get a lot to dive into, but we get enough. We'll just leave it on that note.
That is correct. And also, we don't get a lot of Consulate. So we are going to get to cast a pretty interesting game here. I mean, the desk are talking about it. It's not played a dramatic amount by either team, but definitely more so by Guts, especially in the Japan National League.
Yep.
And I find that probably that it would favor Seventh Heaven because, yeah, they've just got more to prep to. That being said, 7th Heaven did have a very recent game of Consulate against QConfirm. It's something that Guts will be able to carry through. But if anything, 7th Heaven have reiterated in interviews and just week to week in APAC South, they play their own style. It's not even about who they're against or what map they're on. They just have their own style and they go to that. So that can be pretty dangerous.
It's so dangerous. I'm so worried for it, honestly. I hold concerns for Guts and trying to maintain or control what is just what could be a wild goose chase with 7th Heaven. They are certainly a dangerous squad that you can't really hold too true to any sort of play style. Now, of course, you've already mentioned the Consulate games that we've seen for APAC South. We've only seen it twice. We haven't really seen a hell of a lot of action, but for APAC North, we've seen it 5 times. So it's more up there in the played maps of APAC North than it is their counterpart. Now, what's going on here? Are we going to be swapping maps? Is that what I'm reading?
Well, not maps.
Sorry, servers. That's my apologies.
Wait and see what happens. But now I just would love to talk about the Yana ban because we're starting to see it come through a little more frequently, and we're seeing a lot of Yana play. So I mean, it makes sense, right? But intel gathering is just it's so helpful on the Yana. That Gemini replicator, it gets just such good intel gathering outside of a drone. I mean, it's still susceptible. It's still susceptible to a lot of, counters, and obviously if it gets shot, 30-second cooldown. But at the end of the day, I think it's such a strong ban because it's not just the Gemini replicator, it's also nades. Just the utility that Yana has is phenomenal.
Hey, I'm a Yana main. That's all I'm going to say. Absolutely loved it. Like, honestly, just so versatile. Now, for those of you wondering, we are going to rehost, so we will be trying to swap the server, not the map, as I may have alluded to. By the way, hello, how you doing? It's welcome back. I do think that 7th Heaven are going to lean into a very aggressive play style here, and on Consulate, I don't have to say how dangerous that can be on their defense. I mean, did you play the rank game last night? You played with us, didn't you, on the Consulate?
Yep.
And we got it was just, it's not fun. It's not fun when a defensive side is aggressive and methodical as well. It is not fun. And I do feel as though there is an element that can't really be dictated by Guts that will be dictated by 7th Heaven. So that's where my concern comes in.
Yeah, look, I agree. It is a tough map when a team does double down on aggression. That being said, the Valkyrie ban is going to make things a little bit more comfortable because that really is what enables a lot of that. The spawn picking, the jump outs, the run outs, all of that jazz really is enabled by an operator like Valkyrie. So that's off the board. That is going to make it a little bit more balanced. But look, I also wouldn't put it past Guts to look to level up their play. They play in a relatively aggressive region. I mean, the Japan region is a very big melting pot of some pretty insane aggression that we've seen on like the likes of Cyclops, but also we start to see a lot of structure in Japan. So it's a really interesting little meld. And I feel like it does enable Guts to have the tools to be able to deal with 7th Heaven. That being said, man, some of the opening attack phases from 7th Heaven are pretty nutty, pretty hard to deal with. Pika in particular, these last few weeks, he's been on a heater.
Yeah, he literally has just been turning it up. I mean, I think, was it the Elevate game? Oh, no, it was the Knights game where they played on Oregon and they came back from a 6-0 deficit to push it to overtime. Unfortunately, 7th Heaven still lost that. But Pika was a standout performer from me. And like you're saying, in that opening engagement, in the opening minute, they are vastly different in their approach to attacking than we see a lot of other teams. And again, we can touch on the meta for that. The meta's changed quite drastically since last season, and we talk about it quite often on the APAC South broadcast, which is it's led into a lot more of the MLG compilation style highlight reels for a lot of these players. But it also makes things a lot more interesting because you are kept on your toes, and seeing that. A player like Pika, if you do give him that room, he will take it and he will consistently punish you for it. So, there are a lot of elements here for 7th Heaven, but I do definitely agree with your comment about Guts and the Japanese league. We've seen the Japanese teams, and back when I used to cast the Pro League of old, the last time we did a Pro League LAN, CAG was so hard to handle. They are just on another level, and they've been taken out already. So taken down into the lower bracket, which is just insane to think. It's certainly going to lend a very insane storyline. Like the fact that we've already lost one, like what? And now Guts, there is a chance. They're very small chance, but there is a chance here that Seventh Heaven can sneak away with this map.
Yeah, look, I really think that Seventh Heaven are a strong opponent. I mean, they're here for a reason. They've had some really big matches in APAC South. Of course, they also beat the Giants on a fantastic affair on Chalet in particular. So, look, I'm excited to see these two match up. Again, I really feel like Guts, do match up well against Seventh Heaven. But at the end of the day, I just feel like the Seventh Heaven just bring this edge. It's really unique. It's like they've got this really strong, aggressive play style. They play together well as a team. And they're really just not afraid to open up and take opportunities they see. Often they'll have early executes. And again, going back to your point about the meta, that's something this meta beautifully enables. Is it's not necessarily about waiting until the end to clear all that utility. There are chances in the mid round that we see teams execute. We saw that happen with Fnatic and Chiefs in the first game today. Fnatic went for a couple of earlier executes around the minute mark, which is it's not something we're used to, but it's just the beauty of the meta right now, and a lot of the APAC playstyle does enable that. I mean, telling the tale of Seventh Heaven here, there is obviously that potential, but when you look at Guts' run into what is the playoffs now, for the majority, they won the maps. Well, they won the matches that they needed to win. Whereas, from what I can see, there's no blaringly obvious upset from the matches that we saw from them. There weren't the massive performances against CAG or anything like that. But the thing with a team that works consistently is they will always chip away. And for Seventh Heaven, let's be completely honest, they have been inconsistent, but inconsistently good. I don't know how that works, but they're inconsistently good, and they are it's a force to be reckoned with. However, I think if there is one team coming into this that may be able to tame the beast per se, I think it will be Guts. I think they have what it takes to keep themselves composed and to keep them within that arm's reach. Now, I mean, it's so funny when you look at Seventh Heaven and the fact that, we saw Spirited come in halfway through the season, and in all honesty, hasn't been the most impactful player in terms of kills and frags and, like being able to trade out. However, has fitted in perfectly with the rest of the roster and in his own light has done God's work for them. So... you just look at the clutches. The clutches department, I actually think in APAC South, he has the most clutches. Yeah, bang. There you go. Spirited, who has one of the lowest KDs, is currently sitting with the highest the highest clutch count, which is just utterly insane to think. But anyway, we can get into this. Appreciate you waiting, ladies and gents. We'll get underway here, of course. This is Consulate, and it's our second, well, technically our third to fourth match of the day. Got plenty more action to come. This will certainly set the tale that will be on the back end of this Friday night. Yeah, really will start to shape up the bracket. And now, of course, the same stakes applies to this as there was the first match. If you are to drop out of the upper bracket, you are no longer able to fight out for third place, being the highest position you could get in the APAC playoffs this weekend. So it's a big deal. It's a lot of SI points that is differentiating third and fourth. So the loser of this, they're going to have to go to that lower bracket, and the best they can hope for is fourth. A lot on the line.
Certainly is. Now, what is going to be the story at the end of the day? Is it going to be, we're going to be waving the Seventh Heaven banner high? Or are Guts going to reclaim some Japanese pride? That's the question. CAG have fallen into that lower bracket. It would be a devastating move forward for that region. But plenty more to dictate. And thus far, 20 seconds, or 40 seconds I should say, gone. Guts are just setting themselves up fairly nicely early on, honestly.
A really good prioritization here. They just want to get this garage wall open. Does put the most amount of pressure possible when you're attacking your site. That's what this does. So this is really good from them. It's going to mean that 7th are going to have to hold back a bit. They're going to have to play deep through site. They're going to have to either go back and retake vertical or just hold vertical in general. So good prioritization here. Now, there's still a lot of them stacked outside, so I'm not sure whether Guts are going to rotate around and try to go piano. We see Lily positioned outside piano there, and they're just checking site to see what they've got in front of them. Do they need to go above and clearing this out, or maybe they can push a little bit more direct? But regardless, Guts are going to open it up, and there it is. They are going direct. They're going straight for the plant, Manny.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're going to be sticking it at the moment. They've only got 2 drones up plus 1 Twitch drone, and that is all they're going to need. This is the hardest retake on any map. Guts have set themselves up with incredible lines of sight. Light is absolutely tearing them to pieces right now. They're not even going to be able to contest this. That position he's in right now will stop any player at foot height trying to retake any space. The 7th Heaven are completely stalled out. Guts are going to rip them apart. This is absolutely absurd for a first round Spirited. I mean, I know you've got a high clutch count, but this just is not possible. Raven, what a first round that Guts have been able to take away. And this is now highlighting the playstyle that we have been talking about in the entire pre-show. It's game on.
Yeah, and look, I think this is just the danger of the difference between the different regions in that I feel like Japan is just really good at stuff like this. In particular, Guts, they're quite good at just reading plays and just being like, okay, well, this is all we need to do, so we'll just do that. And it works out really well. And that's what it did. Like, we saw, I think there was 2 7th Heaven players I saw around Visa Stairs just before the plant went down. We had a player deep at the shield, one behind the white van, but nobody up aggressive, no vertical control, more importantly. If there was somebody in piano, then that would have been a very different story. I don't think Guts would have done it. But Guts identified that. They saw no vertical lines, only 3 on site. They can just go for the plant. I think it was a really great call from Guts.
It certainly is the due diligence. What I do find absolutely insane is just the fact that Guts had 2 drones left, you know, plus the 1 Twitch drone, maybe even 2 Twitch drones, depending on whether there was one in the field and one in the pocket. But regardless, there were only 2 of 8 possible drones left in their hands. And that plays in perfectly as to what you're saying. They just had so much information. And the beautiful part is it wasn't old information, right? So many times we see teams trying to execute off of dated information and they get caught out time and time again. Whereas in this case, Guts didn't wait. They did not falter at all. And that is really set a precedence here for 7th Heaven early on. And it's one thing I'm a huge fan of, because now it really will be on 7th Heaven to tidy this up. And we have decided to head to that lobby defense rather than stick the basement.
Something that could probably be said too, to the fact that Guts have players, and as a team, you know, they've played really big matches before, you know, playoff matches, even LANs. You know, JJ in particular has a lot of experience playing at a high level. That is not something 7th Heaven have. They're quite a new team to all this. This is the highest they've ever achieved in a regional league. So there really could be some nerves here. I mean, we've seen ED interviews during the season. They're a very up and about team, very excitable. And look, they try to do their best with the mentals, but it's a big game nonetheless. And they're against an APAC North team, Japanese team of Guts Gaming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're nervous. It's a little bit natural. We might see a few rounds go by where they just don't look too in the game. It might take a little bit of time for them to settle in.
Well, fortunately, I should say, this weekend is going to be a long haul. So, you know, as much as this will push you down into that lower bracket, I thought for a second, oh, stop baiting me. If you do get pushed down into that lower bracket, you are still in the lower bracket, right? You still have that chance. So even if this is a mere practice run for 7th Heaven and getting their nerves under control, it's something that they're going to need to move on with. So for now, I'm enjoying this Twitch pick, honestly. We don't see it played a hell of a lot. Oh, that's nice. I really like that. See you later, Yokai Drone. I'm just going to stop talking.
Yeah, look, that's a good catch on the shock drone. And look, I'm loving to see more Twitch players. And oh my gosh, speaking of good catch, Pika off the board. This is a good execute again from Guts. We talked about it earlier, Rob. You could totally do these mid-round executes, and that's what's happened from Guts here. They've totally taken control of Piano. This is a big opportunity, but JJ needs some backup here. Here's the one with Diffuser, and ED is looming, and he is going to get the pick onto JJ, and now Guts there on the back foot.
It's a double-edged sword. You don't do enough, and Seventh Heaven will be able to punish you, and that's exactly what's happened. Don't speak too soon, though. It's into a 2v2. That is very unfortunate. You're left. Crazy Papillon in a retake. Oh, I love this. Souffle. Bang. That's the power that Seventh Heaven have. If you get caught sleeping, you will be punished. And my goodness, how the tides have turned.
Yeah, look, Souffle in particular is a player, if he gets up and firing, it's scary. And there may be some viewers that didn't quite tune into APAC South this stage, but tuned into APAC North last year. Souffle is actually triple lift from Seventh Heaven, or Electrify they were in the previous stage. So you might recognize him as a pretty nutty player because he was their best player in APAC North all of 2020. Definitely, you don't want to see him start to be up and firing because that will be danger for Guts.
Yep.
But look, I like the call from Guts to go early. There was certainly an opportunity there. I cannot fault that. They just didn't hold on to it. In particular, JJ was kind of alone with no friends in Piano, and the retake from Seventh Heaven was fantastic.
Just got caught in two minds, right? It can be always awkward when that kind of when that takes place. You're looking to try to find a little bit more of a deeper pick in lobby, so it's never going to be easy when you lose your partner in crime when you make an early push. And I will just preface with this: first round, Guts executed at a minute 30. Second round, they executed at a minute 20. So the trend right now is if Seventh Heaven aren't prepared, if they're not focused from literally the get-go, they can be punished. And likewise can be said for Guts. If they're not doing their due diligence, if they don't have enough info to go off, it's going to be a double-edged sword. So I would dare say in this round, we may see Guts slow down a little bit and try to get that pace, try to get the pacing of this game under control a little more.
The pacing, I think it's a great point, Manic. The pacing is pretty strange at the moment. I mean, we saw basically a calculated rush in round one, and then a slightly more delayed calculated early plant or a site take just then in round two. So it has been some strange pacing, and it's going to take a bit of adjusting to Seventh Heaven. But at least in that last round in particular, it really did favor Seventh Heaven. They had players off site ready for that retake. And I feel like the chaos is actually going to, long-term at least, favor Seventh Heaven's playstyle.
Yep. This is a vastly different game from what we saw before. Euro with an unbelievable catch on Souffle, making his way back down Spiral, or trying to get to Spiral, I should say. So that's going to eliminate a big hitter on the board of Seventh Heaven. Maybe just what the doctor ordered, and you can see just the vast difference in the approach from Guts from round one to round three. Round one, they're all out the front of garage. They get the early intel. They find the opening on the garage wall. They put pressure on site. They get the plant down. And now they've completely swapped it up. They're taking top floor control all the way from admin. You know, this is the kind of play style that I think will inevitably push Seventh Heaven to their limits.
And it will. So some good control now from Guts. Much more controlled attack than we saw in round one, and they're starting to get some vertical pressure now in through Piano. Oh, Crazy Papillon did see the head of a player just then. Hasn't tried to re-peek it. It was Spirited. Now, he looks like he's keen to try and push up Yellow. He hits a player, and oh no, this has not worked out well for him. Yura's found his double. This is another good-looking round for Guts.
Yeah, that's the smoke player going down. So all that late round denial, the time denial is pretty much withered away. Seventh Heaven are in the best, Guts, I should say, are in the best possible position to execute, to push Seventh Heaven on this site once more. They've still got time to do it. They've just got to be cautious that it doesn't run out.
Yeah, very true. 30 seconds. Doing a bit of a utility burn now, and ED is just trying to dance around it all and dances into the bullets of Crazy Papillon. 5 versus 2 as JJ goes for this plant manic, and oh my lord, it looks like it's going to be all Guts gaming yet again. Pika has got a lot to find. Finds none of them. Guts close it out.
It is just as simple as that. Guts have well and truly stormed the front here in the third round. Both basement defenses being tested from 7th Heaven, and unfortunately it has gone unanswered. Both of them cleanly done by the attacking side. And we're going to go to Archives Towers. So no more interest in trying to fuss with that bottom floor site. And in fact, we're going to go to a 2-floor site. And this, I mean, I just see such such vastly different results on this site, no matter what region or game I'm watching. It really, it does go one way or the other, Raven. There's no firm answering, to be honest.
Yeah, there's not. This is it's been a pretty back and forth game at the moment. I kind of have a feel that Guts are probably in a little bit more control. I mean, they lost that lobby attack, but I still feel like they're playing with some really good confidence right now. And 7th Heaven are struggling to deal with that in most cases. But hey, look, we're only 3 rounds deep. On top of that, Consulate can be like this sometimes. It feels like that it can often go a little defender-sided.
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly check those stats that I had earlier to see if that's true. And look, in APAC North, we said it was the most played. Oh, not the most played, but it's played a lot more in North than it is South.
Yeah.
And yeah, 67% defensive win rate. It's actually pretty dramatic.
Yeah. And it's really concerning for 7th Heaven right now, because if they can't convert this in a 4-2 half, you know, if they can't even get a 3-3 half, you could almost just pin it up because it could be all done. Now, I was just mentioning Archives Towers as a defensive site. It is literally the most, statistically speaking, the best site for the defense on Consulate, you know, so it's a very dangerous kind of map in terms of the defense. And 7th Heaven right now, I mean, you know, they are APAC South. They don't have the same kind of contests as they do in North, but that is the way to start. Take the big hitter off the board for Guts, and now it may well be round on.
It will be. ED getting some beautiful intel here from the pulse scanner down in the basement. Lily, though, he's going to find the trade at least to Souffle, so he's had a bit of a hot and cold 3 rounds. Not doing too bad. Euro in particular has been playing really well for Guts so far in these first 3. But what isn't going so great right now is the map control for Guts. They have found another opening here. Finally able to take admin. It's taken about half the round to do so, and Spirited looks keen to try and retake this.
Well, ED helping him with a C4 there, and that may just call him off, which it does. Now, with the pulse still up, but no C4s, the only chance they have from denial of Archives is to try to floor bang, which of course is not a very viable strat with all of the tables that you have in Towers. And this round has certainly stalled out a lot more than we've seen in previous rounds. But Guts are definitely, I would say Guts are well and truly favoured right now.
Yeah, look, they're playing quite well. Oh, Spirited. He is playing, speaking of playing quite well, Spirited is having a bit of a banger, but it's starting to fall apart for Guts here. It's on crazy Papillon's shoulders. He's only got 2 to find, but Spirited, oh wow, my lord, man. What a headshot through the beams. He is stepping up for 7th Heaven.
It's so funny, the player that we highlight in the pre-game as being an incredible clutch player, but not so much the impactful round-to-round player, is really keeping 7th Heaven above water right now, which is... I mean, tell whatever storyline you want, that is incredible, and a huge step up from the season now. This is a roster that can cause some serious danger. You know, they're not someone that you can just brush aside. And Guts are now being met with that reality. Regardless, though, they do know that they've had such success on that basement floor. Rather just for the garage defense. That they should almost be comfortable with a 3-3 half here.
They should. And look, I think overall Guts, yeah, they wouldn't be too sad about a 3-3 half on their attacks. But it's hard to count out 7th Heaven on their attack halves. Now, we talked about it a little bit earlier, Rob, when there was the rehost, but we've actually seen some very well-structured attacks from 7th Heaven and APAC South with some very explosive entries. So I'm really excited to see how that goes against Guts Gaming. I'm sure they've watched the games and prepared for it, but it's a whole other beast when you're facing it. I would not write off 7th Heaven to be able to actually come back and excel in their attack half.
Yeah. Flip the storyline on us, why don't they? Well,
Exactly.
it's more than possible, more than achievable. They have a long way to go. And right now, I mean, like, the crazy thing is, no matter the praises that we've sung for Guts so far, there is every chance that 7th Heaven don't drop around from here on out and it ends up being 4-2. So you're not going to count that off whatsoever. The Yokais are now in place for Pika. He just needs to make sure that he doesn't lose his life so early on, regardless of whether they won the round or not in the previous. He will need to stay for the long game. Whereas Spirited is feeling it right now, and you have the inkling that he's just going to continue to keep Guts on their toes.
Yeah, feels like it. Man has come to play, and he's been really showing up. You unfortunately pointed out that he has the lowest KD on his team from the regular season, but he has the highest one right now. He is top fragging for 7th Heaven right now. In fact, he's equal kill leader in the entire lobby with Yura.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he is having a great game, and it is enabling 7th Heaven to be able to show up here against Guts.
Yep.
They got a really good hold in through connector here, and backed up from that long desk by Souffle. This is going to be tough to get the meeting control that Guts are going to be hunting for right here.
That bulletproof cam is just going to give them so much intel down that long desk. Like, this is really favoring the defense, especially with how long it's taking Guts to really approach whatever it is that they're looking to do. So far, they may just have to completely dismiss that top floor and try to go for that horizontal push, which it looks like they're starting to do, Raven.
Yeah, actually looks like they're just going to go direct. I think they're keen to just push in and maybe try a plant or go deep. JJ's found that opening onto Ray. Speaking of having shockers, Ray has not been having a great one.
No.
And yeah, Guts are stacked up outside the lobby, and this is going to be the opening they needed. Lily with a double.
Oh my goodness. See you later, 7th Heaven. Wow, you did not have to do them like that. But Guts, they are holding firm to the form we've seen them in so far in Consulate. Lily, is that a 3 or a 4K? It doesn't make a difference because that's Guts winning their 3rd round and at least securing a 3-3 half right now.
Yeah, I think that was a 4K. I think JJ got the opening and then that was it. Lily just cleaned up shop and just totally demolished 7th Heaven on that round. Now, this has been a great performance from Guts. In particular, that was a really good lobby press attack. They didn't do so well in round 2. Maybe just went a little bit too early, as we said. Didn't quite secure it, but that was infinitely better. So great job from Guts here. They're doing a really good job adapting to the holds that 7th Heaven have got going, and I'm really liking what Guts are pulling out. They are just seeing openings and taking it, as well as seeing when it's probably more complicated than they're ready to deal with. So that top 4 hold from 7th Heaven was really substantial. They had a big setup in connector. It was well covered from the private bus room for long desk and in through the meeting. So they said, you know what, we'll just frag from Visa's side across.
Yep.
Push in through the lobby door and plant. It was simple but effective.
Right now, the way you can liken this match is 7th Heaven is to Guts the chaos, and Guts is to 7th Heaven the controlled chaos, the calculated chaos, because there's no doubt about it. Guts have definitely done some pretty impressive things that, doesn't just lean into a methodical play style. Their roam clears have been phenomenal so far. And now they are setting themselves up for such a strong second half. But I do want to reference what you've already said, Raven, is you just don't want to count 7th Heaven out, because they are one of those teams where they can completely flip the storyline and flip the entire map on its head. So, very much so, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but it's really impressive sign from Guts so far.
Yeah, it is. It really is. They're just going to keep it up. And of course, they have to keep it up when they rotate sides, which will be after this round. This stage, 30 seconds in, we haven't seen a whole lot of contact. ED was about to come face to face with a player. He holds onto the path of a grenade. Man, he is lucky that that wasn't further in the cooking process. But it looks like Guts are doing pretty similar to what we saw in round 1. Yeah,
Yep.
Opening the garage nice and early, putting the pressure on.
Yep.
Just checking sight. They might even just try and do a direct plant again.
Yep. They've got 2 Banshees to deal with, but apart from that, I don't know if 7th Heaven have the means to hold this. They've got no smoke for that plant delay. They've got 3 C4s to use. And it doesn't look like they have that vertical control in Piano. So if they decide to go, that is, Guts will have everything they need. Smoke comes in. They have pretty much everything needing to be held here. This is so dangerous, Raven. Guts can just wait this out as well. They don't have to make any kind of decision.
No, definitely not. So much time on the board. 7th Heaven so ready for denial, though. And importantly, Ray is just sitting there in that piano position.
Bang.
Now, I'm not sure if he has Vert open. Here comes the big C4. It hits the mark.
Yeah, and I love that, though, because they've just gone aggressive here, Guts. That is the call that we needed to see. Regardless of the decision from an incredible C4, they're going to be caught on the rotate back in. Oh my God, those air jabs all on yellow stairs ensure that they cannot make their way back to site. An impressive first half performance from Guts Gaming.
Very impressive. So, there it is. 4-2 half to them, and they're rotating to defense. Now, this is looking very good for Guts in this position. 7th Heaven are going to have to step this up big time on these attacks because, I mean, statistically, based on what we were talking about before, Consulate 67% win rate for the defense in APAC North. That is solid. So,
Yeah.
Odds are heavily stacked against 7th Heaven for this game right now.
They certainly are. Maybe this is where they thrive. Maybe Spirited being the clutch master of APAC South, maybe he thrives under pressure and he's about to turn it on. We saw it earlier in the map, and maybe it will come back to fruition. But this is just so good from Guts. I mean, you break down the rounds that they've been able to win. They won 3 basement defenses, right? And they did so with a lot of confidence in 2 completely different ways. A roam clear that, eventuated with that site being completely swarmed, and then the quick little opening onto the site at 2 minutes. It's just, it's really hard right now for 7th Heaven to really get a good read on their attacks. Now they go to maybe they go to somewhere they feel a little bit more comfortable, where they can dictate a little bit more of the pacing. But look at this from Guts. I mean, I'm just not convinced right now that 7th Heaven are going to be able to walk away with this.
Oh, it's going to be tough. But we'll see what 7th Heaven have in store for us for these attacks, because we've hyped it up a bit, Rob, and I'm a bit worried that maybe we've now overhyped it. But the 7th Heaven attack phases in APAC South have been exciting.
Yeah.
They've been quite electrifying. So maybe they can pull out some magic here, and that is what's going to be needed. They face a 2-round deficit here, and Guts are playing really well. So they really are playing from behind.
This is exactly what we're talking about. 40 seconds into the round, and you can see how firm Guts are looking to take control of the admin across. And so far, Guts have just kind of inverted a little bit. Happy to sit and rest on their laurels right now. They've got so much utility that 7th Heaven are going to need to burn through here. Crazy Papillon. That is a nasty line that's so hard to deal with. But Ray, talk about a flick and a half. Goodness me, there goes the ADS system. So that should surely mean that Crazy is in a really uncomfortable position here. Souffle just needs to not get over eager.
You can tell Ray's been playing the C4 shooting game on AimLab. Far out. That was sharp. But they haven't progressed on it. And look, rightfully so. There is a long angle being held from Connector. So they can't just straight up peek onto Crazy Papillon. But that is a big pick. That is Light, who was that player, taken out. And then, of course, they got the meeting control. So great job from 7th Heaven.
Yeah, like dominoes, Guts fall one by one by one. There is no stopping it right now. JJ looking for a Hail Mary, taking that top floor control back. I don't think he's going to be able to do it with Lily falling down. That should pretty much be done and dusted. A free kill given into the hands. Oh, okay. Okay, we see you, JJ. Looking to come back into Piano, but will be caught back on the rotate to Z. Seventh Heaven. That's the round they were looking for to start off with. And Raven, maybe your predictions aren't so obscure after all.
I kind of almost feel just a touch relieved that Seventh Heaven did show up on those attacks. Look, it was actually really good. They got super early control in through admin, as you were pointing out, as they're placing all those breach charges for vert control. Just so efficient and so confident. And then what I was really impressed about was there was an opportunity to maybe do a quick peek from that the Visa Stairs doorway in a meeting and get Crazy Papillon from behind the desk. But it would have been ill-advised. There was a long angle held from Connector. So that was when they reeled it in. They held back, they droned it out, were very careful, and they finally got a player in position so they could get like the two-hit combo. They got both players, they got the Connector player and the meeting player, and look, it all really snowballed from there. But
yeah,
it was just a really well-executed attack.
And maybe it may be something that's going to continue to be a talking point is, can they consistently back it up on their attack? Because they have to, right? A 4-2 half, you don't really have a lot of room to breathe. I mean, for all intents and purposes, all Guts have to do is have one solid site that they can rotate to twice in the half, and you go into overtime. That's the bare minimum that Guts need to achieve here. I'm really curious as to how Guts are going to play this defense because, I mean, as it looks right now, they are going to be playing quite a heavy roam for the basement site. They've got the Vigil that will surely just cause so much delay and so much hindrance in Seventh Heaven's push. But right now, nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to be seen, indeed. I think it's starting to feel like Guts are going to have to step it up here. I mean, they started off so well in their attack half, but the step up we saw from Seventh Heaven coming into this attack half, that felt pretty significant. And again, very efficient. 30 seconds, they're in the admin, they're using this Jackal to hunt this roam. Euro's just going to have to try and peel off. He's not going to go back to side now. In fact, he's going to go back up to this top floor. It hasn't been taken at all by Seventh Heaven. This could be big.
Yeah, now with Crazy Papillon going back down, it may actually allow Euro to have the free first kill. That's the big thing right now. Because they've already spotted that Jackal track on Crazy, they may think that it's completely open for business. Granted, I would rest assured they're going to do their due diligence. And with that drone, oh my goodness, the timing of it. This is literally on a nice edge right now, Raven. It could all go bang. But that is what they needed. They now have the intel.
And most importantly, they've just downed Souffle. Now this is big from Euro. He's going to go through and confirm it, but there's a player from Spiral. They're going to swing back and answer. That's an important play there from Seventh Heaven. Looks like the Yokai did try to back him up, but didn't help. Here it goes. Light's going to try and make the great escape here. Doesn't quite get it out of there. But most importantly, time is ticking away. The side is basement here. They've only just got in and tried to get this hatch open. Not sure. I didn't see them go towards the garage at all. So it looks like this is really going to be a rear push, so to speak, from the east side.
There was a player in Towers for a hot second, which was Crazy Papillon. So Pika just needs to be careful here. He's about to make contact. No, he's not. I thought Crazy was on the staircase. I have been debated. And now, with, 45 seconds left, Raven, have they really done enough here?
It feels a bit scary. I mean, they actually are going to go for the garage right now. It is open, entirely my mistake. Spirited already has this. So, look, it's still possible. I think they have got enough. They've got the vertical control piano. They've got info, the fact that there are players playing deep here for Guts. So, I don't see why the plant couldn't go down. It's mostly JJ's smokes that are going to be the issue. Yeah. But that's why they got to go now.
And in they go. Spirited is going to stick the plant. How many Yokais are still up? Is there an opportunity to be able to make this work? Pika! Hello! That was close. But I got baited even harder than he did. And now in a 3 versus 3 retake, This is incredibly difficult. We said it in the first half. This is the hardest retake in the game. Vertical lines established, and they have everything they need here, 7th Heaven. Light looking to try to find a kill, but at the end of the day, try you will. You will be stopped. You'll be found guilty, and just like that, 7th Heaven have equaled the scoreline. Raven, we really do have a game on our hands.
We do, and 7th Heaven, hey, hello, they're stepping up big on these attacks. That was just a really methodical, great one. Though, they did have a pretty big mistake that could have been much worse, and that was where they totally misjudged Yura's position on the yellow stairs. He easily could have had both of those players. It could have been a 3v5, very different round. So 7th Heaven did catch that at least. But it's been good for them. Like, their attacks have been really thorough. That was just beautiful. They had the vertical control. They had great positioning through yellow and outside breach. It was going to be impossible for Guts to retake that. And even the plant denial was going to be very, very tough. So yeah. Great job from 7th Heaven. And this is starting to get very dangerous for Guts.
Pika, quick little swap out onto the Nook from the sledge. So, okay, what have you got up your sleeve right now? Because there is no pulse on the board for Guts. So there's none of that intel. You know, there's no Valk cams to be placed. They've got one bulletproof cam, which I assume will be on site for tellers. But apart from that, Guts are playing with quite little intel, all things considered. So you would have to assume, Raven, if I'm not mistaken, you may need to take and hold that 3rd floor control.
Sorry, for the attack or the defense?
Defense.
Yeah, totally. You will want to try and hold admin for as long as possible. We've definitely seen teams try and just hold basement floor, but it's really sketchy. Certainly based on the operators, I don't think that's what Guts are going to do here at all. They're going to have to try and hard hold admin. Yeah. Because what you want to do is you want to try and contest at least half the round up here in admin. Yeah. Maybe a minute. Don't make it easy, because this is only maybe a third of the battle or half the battle for the attack. Once you get admin, you still have to think about the players below that can deny.
Oh, this could be a huge Hail Mary if Lily actually goes for it right now. Thought the C4 was going to be held. That's 2 players out on the balcony. Here it comes. Surely the rip. I'm on the edge of my seat, but Spirited pulls away. This is not fun. Stop playing with me right now.
It's gone.
But so too, Raven, with the opportunity gone, so is that top floor control for 7th Heaven. They have so much info on this Repel right now. And in comes, there we go, we found it finally. That's what I'm talking about. Great C4 from Lily to trade back out promptly, but an excellent trade once more from ED.
It's just something that 7th Heaven have been so good at, not just in this game, regular season as well. They are a fantastic trading team. They've really gotten into a good groove. Oh my Lord, Pika did not expect that swing from JJ. Now that could turn the tides. He is just running amok over on yellow. Souffle seems to be aware he's on the push-up. This could be a very big engagement, but it looks like JJ is going to bail away. That's just going to slow down 7th Heaven once again.
I mean, a minute 30 left. 7th Heaven actually have, you know, a lot of room to move now because there are 2 less defenders that they need to worry about, and they are going to be approaching from the lobby. So, looking for a completely different spearheaded attack. Maybe they will just try to keep Guts on their toes, which they have done. They have, in fact, rotated around, but Guts are so elusive right now. You can't get a hand on them.
Yeah, look, JJ, I think he's covered almost every centimeter of the map at this stage. He has been on quite the run and had a good impact in this round. He's really saved it in a way for Guts, because that start of the round, the entry phase, was really good for 7th Heaven. Yeah. But with 40 seconds left, very tough right now. Crazy Papillon's actually retaking admin.
Here's the big issue. There's only 2 drones left, one of which cannot be moved because it's Spirited's, and the other in which is on Ray. Pappy, oh my goodness, Papillon gets caught out, and ED gets traded immediately. A 2 versus 2, no C4s, JJ can't hold any longer, and now Light looking to retake from Spiral Stairs, finds the kill onto ED, oh my goodness, and the one onto Ray. Souffle now with time is going to stick this. Light looking to edge around the corner. Here's it being stuck now. There's a chance for the 1v1. What a play from Light on a retake in a 1v3 to give Guts their first defensive round of the second half.
What a round from Light, and the clutch. That was just phenomenal. Honestly, he played that perfectly. Just some really unfortunate mistakes for Seventh Heaven. Just the revive in the doorway. They probably didn't really have any idea where Light was coming from, so they maybe felt that that was safe. But at the end of the day, you can't fault that clutch from Light. He played it perfectly. And look, Guts have finally got their first defense round. Can you believe it? Their first defense round in 3. I'm kind of surprised that it's worked out that way, but a very important round to break that momentum.
Monstrous. And now the question is going to lean on Seventh Heaven. What is their mentality like? You know, how are they able to bounce back from such a close round? You know, a 3 versus 1, that pretty much in any other round is in the books, right? That is 100% done and dusted. And unfortunately, just small minor mistakes have really crumbled to pieces the opportunity for Seventh Heaven to take the lead. And it would, in fact, be the very first lead that they've had in the game. So now that it's slipped, they need to realign what they're looking to do. And so far, this game has been completely attacking-sided, Raven. So it wouldn't surprise me if we either go to OT or if Seventh Heaven do, in fact, actually win this.
Yeah, definitely still possible. I mean, that last round, yeah, they lost it, but they've done a great job. Again, their attacks have been really clean. And if I was to compare Guts attacks to Seventh Heaven attacks, I kind of feel like Seventh Heaven would definitely be edging out. So Guts have just got to hang in there. That was a really important round because, of course, getting the next one at least gets them to OT. So it's always a big deal. And what better way to try and do it than Garage?
Why do it yourself when robot?
I mean, I can't floor you for that one whatsoever. And really like this. Seventh Heaven, 20 seconds, and they've already got Garage open. And now, I mean, regardless of whether they execute off the back of it, which is exactly like what they're looking to do. I'm not even going to make a point right now because they are looking so aggressive. What are Guts Gaming going to do about it? They're all at the back of Cafeteria. Pika's going to go in deep here. There's plants being stuck. There's no response from Guts. There we go. The plants being confirmed within the first minute of the round. Unfortunately, Spirited can't get away, but it's game on in a 5v2. Seventh Heaven can still win this.
Oh, 100%. It's still super winnable. It's a very hard retake, even if you've got all the bodies to throw at it, but that's a bit of a throw. Speaking of from Ray, speaking of throwing, it's just bodies everywhere. Souffle's going to pick up the double. Now, he can swing from yellow. There's going to be a lot of cover coming in. Really going to be tough for him as Lily sticks this, but he gets a big pick, and he just misses the most important player. And that's Guts, the counter defuse, moving to match point.
Goodness me, that is a bit of a strange round at that. Open the wall with 20 seconds. You know, for all intents and purposes, Seventh Heaven hadn't even tested Guts' defense yet. They just go in, and unfortunately, when you do not find the trades, when Guts are allowed to find 2 kills unanswered, and then a third as Spirited tries to pull back from the site, that is going to be very difficult. I think the biggest issue for me was not Souffle. Who was playing on the shoulder of Souffle? Was it Ray or ED? One of them all the way out by the car. Swung really early, and you could just see how many of the Guts players were staring right down their scopes at him. So an awkward round to try to win at that. But the biggest problem here is the fact that it's match point. That is a really bold move from Seventh Heaven, and it just hasn't paid off at all.
Yeah, so right, it was a bold move, and I think it's made a bit of an error in play there. I don't think they really needed to go so deep. I mean, they could have sent Pika on the mission that he went on, but I think the rest could have easily just covered that from the breach. Honestly, didn't quite see exactly their positioning, but they've really lost a lot of bodies that I was surprised that they lost while that plant was going down. So really could have gone the other way, but hats off to Guts. They did a great job at dealing with that, because the plant was confirmed in a 2v5. Yeah, at least they had the man advantage. But the retake was really, really solid. It's easy to, in a position like that, on this defense, it wouldn't be that hard to throw that, even in a 5v2.
Yeah. Would agree with you on that aspect. And now it is the... It's all going to come down to 7th Heaven, right? Because this is the game to push you into that lower bracket. This is what we've been talking about in the Chiefs, the Chiefs and Fnatic game. It does really punish you quite heavily. There's no chance at coming third in the playoffs if that happens. So you can't make that upper bracket run. You don't get to come back up. Once you're down, you're down. There's no chance about it. So certainly it rewards the teams that are consistent and definitely punishes teams that aren't ready when it's go time.
It's going to have to be clean for 7th Heaven from here on. Crazy Papillon, though. Speaking of clean, he cleanly gets around the corner and gets Souffle. It's a big pick for Guts now. Puts them in a fantastic position. Got to close this out, Manic.
No, Ray. Jeez, Crazy Papillon. That's an incredible C4 as Ray's caught down and out. And, I mean, this is just... I'm not going to say unachievable, but right now, 7th Heaven, their backs are up against the wall. There's everything going for Guts, and it's going to take some incredible plays. With Souffle out, you really do look to peak at a step up. ED's been having a phenomenal game, all things considered, but it may just not be enough here. They've only got 1 minute 15 left, Raven.
Your time is really going to start to run away from them, and it's certainly going to be tough in that 2-man disadvantage. Guts are feeling it right now. You can just tell, and Crazy Papillon has put them in the winning position. 7th Heaven just trying to make a move here. PK, that's big. He's just lost the gunfight to Uri. Did down JJ, but it's going to put a big task ahead of Spirited and ED.
Certainly is. They may well go for that second swing on the Spirited there. There are 2 players waiting for him. Nice kill from ED. Look at the trade. Little less than 0.5 of a second, and Yura has instantly made it a 1 versus 4. Spirited's going to have to hit some nutty shots. He'll hit the first hurdle, but unfortunately fall at the second. And Guts have just knocked 7th Heaven down to the lower bracket.
Really big performance from Guts, honestly. I mean, they did a great job in the first half on their attacks, and then they were up against that firing 7th Heaven when they got into their attacks. Honestly, 7th Heaven were doing a great job themselves bringing it back. Guts stood up, they adapted, they overcame.
It was shaky to begin with for that second half, but very quickly did Guts put our minds to ease. Really nice performance from Yura. I mean, I don't think you can really fault anyone on Guts there. Every player was seen firing and no doubt smiling as they push their way 1 step closer in the upper bracket. And, you know, 7th Heaven, we sat here before the game started. We were umming and ahhing. There was so much that was going the way of 7th Heaven, especially at the start of that second half. They crumble, Raven, and they let it slip when it matters.
Yeah, they did. It was just a couple of small errors as well. I mean, in particular, you could think about that Garage Rush plant. They could have played it more methodical. They've done a great, just standard Garage attack just 2 rounds beforehand. If they'd stuck with that, who knows, maybe that would have gone differently. But that's just what Siege is like sometimes. You make a couple of strategical decisions, and your opponent will capitalize. And that's also what it's like playing against really good opponents. And Guts really stood up today. I think they did a fantastic job at dealing with what 7th Heaven were throwing at them, and obviously they've come out on top.
And you really prefaced it quite well, in fact, when we were talking about it, when we had the very quick rehost at the start about, you know, Guts playing in the Japan National League, and the fact that they would be used to, you know, some aggressive players, some aggressive teams. And I think ultimately you can definitely see that is what was the determining factor in those last 3 rounds, was they were composed. They were able to set themselves back up and not let the playstyle of 7th Heaven affect them. But for now, we will be moving on, because that's mine and Raven's time done casting. We're going to throw it back to the desk, and they're going to continue on with the show without us.
Yes, well, you guys will be watching in the background, I hope, so you're not going to be too far away. In the end, big win for Guts, 7-4. Comfortable, I guess, by the end of it. Dev, 7th Heaven, they started well, but they just couldn't keep the momentum going for the entire match.
Yeah, look, 7th Heaven have a lot of potential, and we know that we've seen some pretty crazy, impressive plays from them in the past. A lot of the time, they do leverage those opening picks on their attack. We saw that in their games in the APAC South League. They couldn't quite get that going for them today. They tried a lot of those kind of more classic 7th Heaven bouts of aggression, including that rush. Didn't work out. A 2v5 post plan is winnable, but I think Guts played it really well, and I think that is the story of this game. Guts just very, very thorough, and they're known to be quite a methodical team, but they also have incredibly talented players. We saw a fantastic 1 versus 3 clutch from Light on, I believe it was the Smoke, and he is just such a great player. And a moment like that, I mean, that ended up just being the first step in 3 rounds straight for Guts that took them to the victory. So Guts just very much far and away the better team today.
Yeah, I don't think Guts left a lot up to chance in this matchup. It feels like they went in with their game plan. They executed it to a pretty high level. A lot of close, exciting rounds there. I think Guts in particular were edging out a lot in those post plants. In fact, we saw in one of those basement defenses that they retook site despite the plant going down, which is something we don't see a whole lot on Consulate, no matter how strong the man advantage is. So I think at the end of the day, Guts probably deserving of that win, and keen to see as they progress deeper into that upper bracket.
I should mention as well, we had some off-air results that did take place during this same matchup. Knights did, in fact, end up beating Mercenaries. That was on Coastline 7-5. In the end, Dev, from these 2 matches that played out, of course, one on stream and one of them off streamed, I think we got our expected results this time around.
Yeah, that said, I know that the Knights players are tweeting out saying, wow, the South Asian teams are quite scary, and I think South Asia has certainly made a statement today. So despite Mercenaries losing tonight, I still don't feel like that game was as cut and dried as saying it's as we expected, right? And even for this game, you know, I personally did rate 7th Heaven quite highly here. They didn't show up, and Guts looking very, very strong really shut them down. So in a way, it kind of the bottom line is as expected, but kind of the way we got there, not necessarily as cut and dried as one might expect.
Yeah, I think that does mean that South Asia will pose a threat no matter what side of the bracket they're on, right? If you're a team in the lower bracket expecting a little bit of an easier run potentially and maybe some safer games in the best of 3 format, it may well not be the case, especially if the South Asian map pool is deeper than what many expected. Of course, the upper bracket for the most part is, or at least for the first half at least, is best of 1, so you could argue that maybe map pool depth is not as imperative, but once you start to get into that lower bracket, it becomes really, really important.
Let's go to our interview, though, of course, with our winning team, Guts Gaming. It is going to be Crazy Papillon, and we've got our translator, Gunboy, in the background, who's going to be helping us out. So, firstly, hello to both of you, and also congratulations on the win. How's the team feeling?
まず勝利おめでとうございます。今回の試合勝っての感想をお願いします。
いつも通り自分たちが出せば勝てると思ってたので、無事勝ててよかったです。
We knew that if we played as usual, we will get the win, and we're happy to get the win today.
Yeah, great. With Cyclops going to the lower bracket, your team, Guts, is the final team with a chance at getting 3rd place in APAC. Do you think you can win the whole thing?
CAG が、この試合の前に試合を行ってて、ルーザーズブラケットの方に進んだんですけれども、この調子でいくと、ガッツゲーミング、ルーザーズではなくウィナーズブラケットの方を進んでいって勝利を収めることができると思いますか？
そうですね、このまま順調にいけば、自分たちの力を出し切れれば全然3位いけると思います。
If we play as usual and if we do our best and play against the South teams, also on the other side, Fnatic too, I think we could win the whole thing.
Well, the first step to getting there is, of course, your next matchup, which will be against the Knights. It's the first time you'll verse a team from, or it's the second time you'll verse a team from South Asia or the South Division. How are you feeling in that matchup against the Knights?
ナイツと、公式戦で多分戦うのは初めてだと思うんですけれども、対戦するにあたってどのようなことを考えてますか？
そうですね、ナイツとは結構スクリムで練習してるので、特徴だったりとか相手の傾向は分かっているので、しっかりそれに対策して、対応しながら、自分たちを出しつつやっていきたいと思ってます。
We've had some scrims before, and we know how they play, and we've gone through VODs and a lot of things, so we'll counter-strut them and get the win.
Any final thoughts, any final shout outs before we say goodbye?
最後に一言感想または視聴者へお願いします。
そうですね、これからどんどん勝ち続けていくと思うので、3日間応援よろしくお願いします。
Throughout the 3 days, we'll be winning and get the confirm the third place. So please keep on cheering for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Crazy Papillon, as well as to
Thank
you,
you.
Gunboy. That's going to be it from us. So thank you very much, GG, and we'll see you in the future.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome. Great interview. Great team. They're going to be moving forward. And most importantly, Dev, they stay in the upper bracket. Third place is still achievable.
Yeah, fantastic for Japan to at least get one team staying through that upper bracket here. I don't really count Fnatic as a Japanese team. Despite them wanting to move to Japan, they don't have any Japanese players. So Guts is the last chance for those incredibly passionate Japanese fans. And they are going to have to go through the Knights, which will be very a challenging opponent, of course. But Knights a bit softened after their game with Mercenaries. That was pushed a bit further than they expected. Even they admitted on Twitter that they made some mistakes. So I think Guts has definitely got a serious shoe-in for that best of 3 kind of final, upper bracket final, and taking that third place. And even if they lose that, of course, they would then get to play for 4th place in that lower bracket final. So honestly, I think Guts is really well set up here.
Yeah, and then unfortunately on the flip side, of course, 7th Heaven, after losing that match, find themselves in that bottom bracket, and they'll be facing the Mercenaries, which could well be a very difficult matchup, considering Mercenaries did push the Knights quite deep in that best of 1. So far, I think the bracket is shaping up quite nicely, and again, just keen to sit back and see how it all plays out. Still a long, long way to go, a lot of maps to be played, and a lot of stories still to be told.
Yeah, there's a long, long way to go. Only one South APAC team, though, left in that upper bracket. That's the Knights. So they've got almost a region on their back. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to be heading to those upper bracket games.